Hello. So, Art and Fear by David Bayles. I'm gonna jump right in, and the heading for this chapter is expectations. So let's see what it's gonna say. I hope you're doing well today. Don't lose hope and keep your faith alive. Okay, anyway, so let me go. Expectations. Hovering out there somewhere between cause and effect, between fears about self and fears about others, lie expectations. Being one of the higher brain functions, as our neocortex modestly calls itself, expectations provide a means to merge imagination with calculation. But it's a delicate balance. Lean too far one way and your head fills with unworkable fantasies, too far the other, and you spend your life generating to-do lists. Worse yet, expectations drift into fantasies all too easily. At a recent writers' workshop, the instructor labored heroically to keep the discussion centered upon issues of craft, as yet unlearned, while the writers, as yet unpublished, labored equally to divert the focus with questions about royalties, movie rights, and sequels. Given a small kernel of reality and any measure of optimism, nebulous expectations whisper to you that the work will soar, that it will become easy, that it will make itself. And verily, now and then the sky opens and work does make itself. Unreal expectations are easy to come by, both from emotional needs and from the hope or memory of periods of wonder. Unfortunately, expectations based on illusion lead almost always to disillusionment. Conversely, expectation based on the work itself are the most useful tool the artist possesses. What you need to know about the next piece is contained in the last piece. The place to learn about your materials is in the last use of your materials. The place to learn about your execution is in your execution. The best information about what you love is in your last contact with what you love. Put simply, your work is your guide. A complete, comprehensive, limitless reference book on your work. There is no other such book, and it is yours alone. It functions this way for no one else. Your fingerprints are all over your work, and you alone know how they got there. Your work tells you about your working methods, your discipline, your strengths and weaknesses, your habitual gestures, your willingness to embrace. The lessons you are meant to learn are in your work. To see them, you need only to look at the work clearly, without judgment, without need or fear, without wishes or hopes, without emotional expectations. Ask your work what it needs, not what you need. Then set aside your fears and listen, the way a good parent listens to a child. That kind of reminds me about, as the child is to the sage is to the child. Thank you, John Viveki. So this, I think I will just let it blend into the next section of the book, and it is headed here, it goes into the portion about fears about others. There's a quote, "Don't look back, something might be gaining on you," by Satchel Paige. It's quite an interesting quote. Art is often made in abandonment, emerging unbidden in moments of selfless rapport with the materials and ideas we care about. In such moments, we leave no space for others. That's probably as it should be. Art, after all, rarely emerges from committees. But while others' reactions need not cause problems for the artist, they usually do. The problems arise when we confuse others' priorities with our own. We carry real and imagined critics with us constantly. A veritable babel of voices, some remembered, some prophesied, and each eager to comment on all we do. Beyond that, even society's general notions about art making confront the artist with paralyzing contradictions. As the artist, you're expected to make each successive piece uniquely new and different, yet reassuringly familiar when set alongside your earlier work. I think that's very, very true. I think a lot of people can relate to that. You're expected to make art that's intimately, perhaps even painfully personal, yet alluring and easily grasped by an audience that has likely never known you personally. When the work goes well, we keep such inner distractions at bay, but in times of uncertainty or need, we begin listening. We abdicate artistic decision-making to others when we fear that the work itself will not bring us the understanding, acceptance, and approval we seek. That's pretty strong right there. For students in academic settings, and this trouble is a near certainty. You know, and you are correct, that if you steer your work along a certain path, 3 units of A can be yours. Outside academia, approval may be clothed in loftier terms: critical recognition, shows, fellowships, but the mechanism remains the same. With commercial art, speed wobble. With commercial art, this issue is often less troublesome, since approval from the client is primary and other rewards appropriately secondary. But for most art, there is no client, and in making it, you lay bare a truth you perhaps never anticipated. That by your very contact with what you love, you have exposed yourself to the world. How could you not take criticism of that work personally? Or the next one, okay, the next one is understanding. I think I'm going to go into that one, and then I'll just finish the video for today. Understanding. This, makes me instantly think of at the local church that I attend. One of the things that the pastor says is that understanding replaces confusion, and that is so true and so helpful, and I love how it just pops into my memory now. But it's just so, yeah, that just comes to my memory, but something to chew on. Anyway, so let's get back to the book. Understanding. We all learn at a young age the perils of being perceived as different. We learn that others have the power to single out, to ridicule, to turn away from, and to mock the one who is different. Choose your own memories, but one way or another, we've all felt the hurt of a little boy who wanted to write poems, or a little girl who tried to join the sandlot ball game. As an artist, you learn these lessons all over again with a vengeance. In following the path of your heart, the chances are that your work will not be understandable to others, at least not immediately, and not to a wide audience. When the author fed his computer the question, "What works?" a curious pattern emerged. A consistent delay of about 5 years between making of any given negative and the time when prints from that negative began selling. In fact, one now popular work was first reproduced in a critical review to illustrate how much weaker the then new had become. Performing artists face the added real-time terror of receiving an instant verdict on their work in person, like the conductor being pummeled with a barrage of rotten fruit halfway through the Paris premiere of Rite of Spring, or Bob Dylan being hooted off the stage the first time he appeared live with an electric guitar. No wonder artists so often harbor a depressing sense that their work is going downhill. At any given moment, the older work is always more attractive, always better understood. This is not good. After all, wanting to be understood is a basic need, an affirmation of the humanity that you share with everyone around you. The risk is fearsome. In making your real work, you hand the audience the power to deny the understanding you seek. You hand them the power to say, "You're not like us. You're weird. You're crazy." And admittedly, there's always a chance that they may be right. Your work may provide clear evidence that you are different, that you are alone. After all, artists themselves really serve as role models of normalcy. That's difficult to say. As Ben Shahn rather wryly commented, "It may be a point of great pride to have Van Gogh on the living room wall, but the prospect of having Van Gogh himself in the living room would put a great many." Ooh, what is wrong with my pronunciation? I'm not remaking this, so I'm just gonna read that again. It may be a point of great pride to have Van Gogh on the living room wall, but the prospect of having Van Gogh himself in the living room would put a great many devoted art lovers to rout. Put that way, platitudes about the virtues of individuality sound distinctly hollow. Just how intelligible your art or you appear to others may be something you don't really want to confront, at least not all that quickly.